Hey everybody, Radioactive here, and today we have, well, we don't have our typical red, Red Dead Hammershot. We have the Splatter Hammershot. So you can see that I have a kit down here. This is the intermediate full upgrade kit with the O-ring. We're going to go ahead and put all of these, most of these, off to the side. And we are going to go ahead and get stock performance numbers so we can compare and contrast and everything. Oof. I don't know what it just hit. Alright. So. $61.7, $64.5, $51.5, $59.1, $65.7. So approximately 60. We'll give it 60 FPS. So that's pretty standard. Alright. Now let's open this thing up. This is my first time actually working on Splatter Hammershot. I assume it's all the exact same stuff as the Red Dead, the orange with the orange internals, and the Caution Hammershot. Can only hope. It would be weird for this one to be the only one that's different of the four that are still being sold. These screws are really tight for some reason. I dropped this one. So yeah, we're doing the intermediate upgrade kit. This kit increases the draw length by approximately 9.5 millimeters. So it brings it up from like 17.28 cubic centimeter volume to 22.5 or so. So a pretty sizable increase. Nothing super crazy, but it does help. And now, let's see if we can get this open. That first open is always the most difficult. Takes some breaking in to break in. Alright, let's go ahead and put our cylinder. I don't want to put the darts in yet. We're going to go ahead and put our cylinder off to the side. We're going to go ahead and put our darts beside the cylinder. Alright, and now we have this. Let's go ahead and take these parts out, put them off to the side. Take our spring out, put it off to the side. This we can also put off to the side. And now we have our internals. So, let's open up the internals so we can pull our plunger head out and put on our cap. So this step is going to be pretty much the exact same as removing as putting on the regular dead space filler. So it doesn't matter where we put this, really. Can't put it there. Alright, so same deal. These like to come out, so we're just going to take them off so we do not lose them. Put them in a pile over there. Alright, same deal. Press up on this, press down here, and push with the palm of your hand. And we have this out now. Now we can go ahead and put this off somewhere else. We're not going to need it. At least not right now. Alright, that seems pretty lubed up, but I feel like I'm going to have the same problem of this lube really sticking. Alright, so first off, what we are going to do is we are going to try and just remove the air restrictor. To try and give you an idea of how to remove your own air restrictor if you do not want to remove the cap at all. Where are my snips? Here they are. Now this is the way I do it. You cut off the little bracer that goes across the front, and then you try and cut off that piece as flush as you can. And for this, you want to be careful to not mess up the seal. If you do mess up the seal, you can just get some craft foam, some 2mm craft foam. Now, this is the most tedious part. We got to try and flip this onto its side. There we go. And push down as steep as you can and cut. Now we gotta flip it around without allowing it to actually flip back on us, because then we're gonna have to do that whole part again. Let's go ahead and try and cut this right here. This thing's stuck now. Excuse me. Okay, now we're back. Had to sneeze. This is always the most irritating part. And this one's being even more stubborn for some reason. It knows. You know, it's stuck in the bottom. Okay. And I don't even need to do this for this damn mod. I'm literally just doing it to show you what you need to do if you just want to remove your air restrictor. Okay. Try and remove this spring. The spring is giving us problems. I didn't cut as much of it as I had intended to, so I'm paying the price. Aha! There we go. Now pull the spring out, and as you can see, the foam seal is still good. Alright. Now, if you just want to remove the air restrictor, not do any other mod for, let's say, a 16 shot or a mega hammer shot, stop here. Don't continue. If you want to put on the intermediate kit, because I've already shown you how to do the Dead Space filler kit, you're going to do this. You're going to cut with your 10 snips, I think they're 10 snips, on the back here, making sure, if you look in this direction, you can see the white plastic. I'll make sure not to cut the white plastic. Alright, sweet. We got another one where we cut completely through the back. And it snapped the rest of the way. So, the reason why this is so helpful, it just makes it a whole lot easier to actually break it off. Put your needle nose pliers, and kind of try and twist it off. Having difficulty with my words today. And now that you have a single sliver out, you can go in this way. This might be a case of this actually not being solvent welded. Please tell me this thing is actually solvent welded. Oh, that's so weird. It doesn't seem to be... It's not solvent welded. Holy shit. There is a little bit of solvent weld right there, but they didn't put very much on at all. That or it's just gotten so weak. So normally what you'd have to do is you'd have to go in and tear it out basically bit by bit. You would go in, you would cut this with your X-Acto, or you could go in with your tin snips. We have to cut this off anyway. So I'm going to show you. You would go in like this with your tin snips, being very careful to only get this hinge and not the plunger tube itself. If you catch or tear off bits of the plunger tube, then you will not get a seal. And there's not much you can do to fix it, except covering it with a ton of your silicone glue. Alright, so cut off this second one. Alright. Now, if you get one that is really has a lot of solvent weld, you can still get it off. It's just going to be more difficult. You want to make sure that it is as clean as possible. No solvent weld on the sides. At least no big bulges of solvent weld or globs or whatever you want to call it. Careful not to cut yourself. I've cut myself doing this a lot of times. You also want to make sure that where you cut off your hinges, your clips is flat. Remember not to cut too far in. It seems like I did a really good job. I'm getting pretty damn good at that. It's very flat. Alright, now we pull off some more of this solvent weld that was on this side. I got really lucky that there wasn't very much solvent weld on this. I could have literally just done it the normal way. With the old Hammershots, they're not solvent welded, so you can just break this one off, and the cap comes off. Or you can be very careful and kind of slightly move this one and slightly move this one and then pull it off, remove the air restrictor, put it back on. Can't do that with these, at least not normally. Now we go in with, again, our snips. You see these three little support posts right here? We need to get those off, and we need to make sure that they are as flush as possible. So you will have to come in with your X-Acto knife, because you will get some left over. Like, you can't get around it. There will be some. Whew, very lubey in there. Take this, put it wherever you want to put it. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my container. Alright, so we have our X-Acto. So on this side, I don't know how well you can see, right here, and right here we have bits that are sticking into our, where we're going to put our cap, basically. So we need to make sure that those are as flush as can be. That feels pretty good. Let me just run it over a little bit. Alright. Now we go off to this side. Try and get this as flush as it can be. Alright, that's good. Make sure, try and get more. Make sure to not go too deep and score the inside of your plunger tube. That will reduce performance, and there's actually nothing you can do for that. Alright, that one looks like it's pretty good. Let me get close to my face real quick and get this a little bit more out. I don't want my face being in the video, but I do have to see. Alright, now we only have this one side left. I like to kind of rock my X-Acto into it. Helps me be more precise with my cuts. Alright, I got a bunch of it off. Kind of feel around. Yeah, there's still some more in there. Be careful not to cut yourself or anything that you don't want to cut. This is still part of the plunger tube. If you accidentally cut too much and go through a wall or whatever, it will be way more difficult for you. Alright, feel in here. That feels pretty good. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of my workbench, paper towel, toilet paper. If you're really one of those people, you got a silk or a microfiber towel. I'm not one of those people. Alright, so we got this. We get our isopropyl alcohol. I have a 99.9% IPA. Don't drink this stuff. Try and get your towel choice. Get it all nice and alcoholed up. You want to make sure that you get around the outside. Kind of wipe down your plunger, the outside of your plunger tube as well, just for future. Wipe down the inside of this area. And then what I'm going to do, because I am going to replace the lube that's in it, and I don't want this getting anywhere that I do not want it, I'm going to work this around to try to get all that lube out. Because just a little bit of lube could cause the glue to spring a leak, basically. Alright, that seems to be pretty good. Alright, toss that. And now we have this part. You're going to want to find the side that has one of these nubs. If it's facing up, you want the hole to be towards you, towards the bottom. Now let's do a test fit. Alright, so that's not working. So what we're going to do is we are going to kind of try and taper this ledge right here so it's easier for us. Alright. Make sure all that plastic is out. Find it, line it back up. Aha! Alright, that seems to be pretty flush along this line. That's pretty good. Alright, now let's see if we can get this thing back off of there so that we can apply our glue. That might be harder. Be careful not to break anything, basically. Alright, now it should be easy to get off by hand. There we go. Alright, so now we get our silicone glue of choice. I have seen people use epoxy. I've seen people use super glue and hot glue. This is what I use. This is what I recommend. You can find it on Amazon. Loctite Clear Silicone Waterproof Sealant. Let's open her up. That seems to be getting pretty dry in there. I don't want to have to fiddle with this being dried up. Oh, it's all over my fingers. Get our handy paper towel. Wasn't as dry as I thought it was. Get it off of our fingers. You don't want glue ending up in our eyes or anywhere else. That would be very, very irritating, especially to the eyes. Alright, so we got this. Oh, that's quite a bit. It's quite a big glob. Let's see. Where is my dead foam that I like to use? Hold on. Give me a moment. Ooh. Alright. Here's my big old box of dead foam. We're going to do, let's make sure that this isn't coming out and going on my nice clean table. We are going to find a couple of darts to cut up. Take this and put it back where we got it from. Never throw away anything that could potentially be useful in a mod. Never. Alright. So we've got our pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. We're going to use this. We're going to cut this in half. And then each side also in half. Alright. That's starting to come out. Alright. I kind of feel bad about just doing that big old glob. Alright, I'm going to find a nice little spot to kind of remove that. Alright. Now, you want little globs all the way around the outside here. Tiny little bits and pieces. It kind of looks like a flower, sort of. Alright. Take our glue and put it back on a section of the desk that we have labeled its home. Take your bit of foam, kind of try and rub a nice thick layer. I probably did too much silicone here. Try and do a nice thick layer around the outside. Alright, throw away your excess silicone and foam with the glue. And finally throw away something. Make sure really, really big globs don't end up on the top or on the inside. You do kind of want to do really thin layer around the inside. Use some of that excess from the outside and put it on the inside. You just gotta be real careful. If you do big globs end up on the outside, or the inside rather, of the plunger tube, and that will cause problems for performance. Maybe seal. Alright, so we put that away. Take this, line it up again, figure out where we lined everything up. Alright, that looks good. And then we are going to put it on. There we go. Press it down. If you see there's a large ring of glue around the outside, we're going to take it, angle it this way so that no glue goes down. It can cause problems because I did have that last time. And kind of wipe it away. Alright. If you look really closely and you see like this, I'm going to go ahead and try and press some down into this area right here, and then I'm going to wipe away the excess again. Same for here, and then wipe away the excess. Alright. So it looks like we're good here. Throw away your glue, your excess glue. Make sure there's none down in here. If there is, there's a little bit. It's not a huge problem. I like to take a little flathead screwdriver and kind of smear it around the holes. On the inside of here. Alright. Smeared, no big globs. Don't throw this away. Almost did. Alright, and so this should be good to sit for a couple of days. I think I'm probably only going to be able to do 24 hours at this point. So, well, that's whatever. We do what we can work with. It seemed to work last time with the Dead Space filler I did, but, yeah. Alright, so, put this off to the side. Wait a day or two. I would recommend probably 3 or 4 just to make sure it cures completely before you start really messing with it. And then I'll get back to you once that is cured enough for me to continue. Alright, now that it's been about a week, I took an extra long time to get this one done. We have the intermediate cap kit for the Hammershot once again. We're going to do the full upgrade kit, so I'm going to go ahead and swap out this O-ring. Just put both these O-rings back down here. I don't know where I'm going to put it. Alright. And we're going to get our high performance O-ring. We're just going to snap it on. Snap it over. There we go. Alright, now that that's on, we've also got... I did. Okay, cool. Alright, we also got this part. Oh, I already brought out the O-ring beforehand. It's been a week. I've just had the part sat on the bench. Alright, so we are now going to take our foam gasket seal and we're going to put it on the front of this. Same process as always. I'm going to take this brush on super glue. I'm gonna slather around the side. That looks good. And I'm going to line it up correctly. And I'm going to give slight pressure, flat. I'm going to put the gasket flat on the workbench. And apply a little bit of pressure to make sure the glue goes down equally. Alright, gonna check the sides, make sure it adhered. Good. Alright, yep, that's perfect. Alright. Excuse me. And now we've got an interesting part. So now we're gonna have to try and fit this in. It's gonna be a lot of cutting here. Alright, so as you can see, we have a little bit to work out. So take this back off. Come here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and take my tin snips. And you see this little horn that comes out. So you see these little I-beams, these little I structure pieces. And you see this part that comes out a little bit. You're going to cut off that part that comes out. Be careful not to break it through. Now we're going to take our X-Acto knife. And we're going to make sure it's flush. We just want to make sure it's flush. We're not actually cutting into the plunger tube. Make sure this I-beam piece is flat. Now, this is just my process for this. We're actually going to be cutting quite a bit further. Alright. You can see it's not lubed, so this is grabbing. And it's actually causing some issues there. Alright, so now you can see, oh, it kind of does want to. Hold on, let me take this out and double check. Alright, so you can see it's kind of able to move quite freely here. Now what we have to do is cut off a little bit of this forward eye piece. I'm going to go ahead and just take the bottom eye off. We're going to turn it into a T. Alright. Getting there. Should I try to use a needle nose? Yeah, that's helpful. Alright, so I just tore the bottom eye off. We're going to make sure that these cuts are flush. I'm going to make sure this cut is flush here. Alright, that does seem to be, as long as I can get this piece off. Alright, that's pretty good. Check again. So if you can see this bottom eyepiece right here, it kind of fits into that little, not even a slot really. So we need to remove. Okay, it's touching here and it's touching back here. So what we have to do is we have to remove an equal amount here in the front and then an equal amount here on the back. I believe... whatever. We'll just do this again. Alright, so we're going to take about 1.5 millimeters off the top, because that's about what this eyepiece is, and we're going to cut off this eyepiece. Pretty much the exact same procedure, just on the forward eye of the plunger tube on the back side. cut into it. I don't know what happened there. I guess I did that. I don't know. Alright. Popped it off. Make sure, once again, that cut was flat, flush, clean. Careful not to cut too much, because it did seem like I slipped a little bit there. So there's a little bit of undercut on the piece that I don't want cut just yet. We might change that. Alright, and we're going to cut a similar amount on the front. You can go ahead and just retest. Yes, that's no longer touching, but this is. So I'm going to line that up about where I want it to be. Press down. Careful not to cut too much this time. And once again, we're going to test fit. It does seem like that is caught on the back, so we're going to go and try a test fit. Alright. This does seem to not be pushed in normally. I'm going to go ahead and do just a sliver off of this side right here. So just a little bit, maybe 1/2 millimeter, 3/4. Doesn't matter too terribly much. Just needs to be cut off a little bit. Okay, once more, try again. Does seem to be flush here and here. All right, give that another look. It doesn't seem to be too bad. So now normally, under typical circumstances, I would recommend that you, at this point, once this is basically flush, I would recommend you test fit your cylinder in. Now, we're doing the stock cylinder here at this point in time, so I'm going to go ahead and test fit the stock cylinder. If it's just flat, normal, does seem to be just barely touching. And so now that we have a good baseline, I'm going to go ahead, take this off, and I'm going to go ahead and take a file. Now we just want to get a little bit, we want there to be, basically, we want to be able to see light between this seal while it's pushed all the way back in the back of your cylinder. So now I'm going to go ahead and take this and slightly file the back side of each and every eyepiece, or what's left of the eyepiece. Just a little bit. We're not doing a ton. We're just trying to get a little bit more clearance. Now, if this was a lot, I would recommend that you basically just cut little slivers off. But this is being slightly more careful, more precise. Works out better for us. All right, let's test it one more time. We're gonna look at this. It does seem like this is no longer touching, and this is no longer touching. Let's give it a good test with the cylinder. Do a test with the cylinder now. I do see a little bit of a gap. We're gonna go ahead and give it a little bit more clearance. You do want this to have just a little bit of movement. Alright, so because the back piece was the one that was hitting this part right here, we're going to go ahead and hit it with the file a little bit more. You don't want to get rid of it completely. If you do have, if for some reason your fit does basically ask you to remove this whole eyepiece on the bottom, what you can do, and what I recommend you do highly, there is, you see where I've been talking about before. There's a very tiny wall right there that if you cut and you file it perfectly, this will slide back into it. Now that is what I would recommend if your cylinder does fit tighter to the back than the stock cylinder. But at this moment, I am working to the stock cylinder. This is a piece you have to specifically fit for the cylinder that you are going to work with. Now, let's set this back in. It does seem to go all the way back now. Test fit our cylinder once more. There's going to be a lot of going back and forth. And I do notice that there is a gap the entire way. That's good. It's good. All right. Now, let's take all this off. I don't know how well this is going to pick up on camera. However, when this is pushed forward, when everything's pushed forward, you'll notice, or at least I notice, you'll notice when you're putting it together, if you put it towards the light, you can see a black ring where the plunger head starts and where the O-ring is. And there's a pretty big gap between the front of the plunger tube and the plunger head. So we have to make it so that the head now moves all the way towards the front. You do not want it to hit. You want it to be a little bit loose on the end. You want the plunger head itself to be a little bit loose at the end of it. This still gives you the maximum amount of movement. However, it will not jam your foam gasket into your cylinder. If it hits too hard, it could actually break right here, break your rotator. So, first start, we're going to take off this plate here that holds the trigger, that holds the hammer, that holds everything in. Take it out. And take out our hammer. Now, this is going to be probably the most, can't think of the word. It's going to be an interesting part. So, you see this little nose piece that comes out. I call it the nose. If you kind of look at it here, if you're really imaginative, you can kind of see a knight chess piece. It's really funny, actually. So you want to basically cut the nose in half. We're cutting the nose in half. Then we're going to put everything back together and test fit. So that's about half. I like to do each of the outer support walls first. Make sure everything is lined up with your first set of cuts. And then yeah, that has a lot of pressure on it. Make sure this is flat. You don't want any jagged pieces like what we created. I actually went just a little bit more than I was probably supposed to. But that's fine. We can work with that. So, sorry. Let's take this, put the thing back in. we're actually going to have to take down, I don't know why this even exists. There's this piece right here that sticks out for some reason. We're going to have to get rid of that. Do I have the correct thing on my... Alright, I'm actually going to cut right here, and I'm going to Dremel this down. You don't want to hear that. You know exactly what to do. You can hit it with a file if you don't have a Dremel. I use a Dremel. So, I'll be right back. Alright, now that it's filed down, let's get... I'm going to clean this up just a little bit. You don't want any pieces of plastic coming off of any of your cuts and potentially onto your O-ring, breaking your seal or against your sear face. Alright. Now let's put it all together. There we go. Now it's in its hole. I'm going to be careful not to strip these screws. They are actually quite fragile. Not the screws themselves, but rather this area of plastic. I don't know why. Like that one's already cutting the threads and the plastic off. Alright. Now, I can see that this... So a good way to check, actually. I just thought of this, and I just realized that you can do this. A good way to check if you have the right... Let's put this in here. If you have the right spacing, if you take calipers, and you put the end on the bottom of the plunger tube, and you push down until you get to the plunger head. If it reaches... Oh, actually, you can't do it with that on because we haven't cut that off yet. Right, just do it this way. If you do this, you'll want just under 44 or just under 44, which we do have here. That means it's just barely touching or about to touch the end of the plunger tube. All right. So it does seem like it's just barely touching. It's not touching at all. We did perfectly. All right, so you can see this cut that I made here. This is how I got it perfect. First try. All right. So let's put it back in the blaster because I'm going to show you a problem that doing this causes. Now, if we allow this to go all the way, I don't know if you can see under here, this is the catch surface. If you hold the trigger backwards as you fire, this is as far as it allows you to go. You're basically hitting up here where the stock, everything would stop you, and you're just barely not hitting your trigger. So if you increase the forward draw, you're now going to start hitting your trigger. So what we have to do now is take this off. We're going to take our trigger out, and we're going to make cuts so that it doesn't hit right there. That will reduce performance. You could damage your trigger, damage quite a lot. You could damage your fingers. All right, so let's try and get this a good shot of it causing problems. All right, so here it is. It is caught. Push this back. It is caught. We pull the trigger, it fires, and at this point, it hits the trigger. We still have about half an inch of travel to go, maybe 10 millimeters, 12 millimeters of travel left to go on the plunger head. and then it goes right here. Yep. So we have to cut. I'm going to Dremel. If you do cut it, you have to be extremely careful because for whatever reason, this is harder, but which that means more brittle plastic. So if you cut into it, it could create cracks, it could snap, it could make this really weak. You will have to find a replacement if that does happen. Alright, so I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to Dremel that out until it's perfect, and I'll get back to you. Alright, so I've done the test fits. If you push this back, it no longer does it. Yeah, I guess I will take this off so you can see the trigger. I'm just going to end up putting it right back on, but this isn't for me. This is for y'all to see how to do this. Alright, so trigger comes back, it's catching, pull it back, it goes all the way forward, and it just barely touches at the end of movement here. However, this will not be the end of the movement for the hammer because it will hit the silicone buffer that everybody seems to forget exists. It's like, oh, you need to I'm gonna get into a rant there, better not. Suffice to say, there's already dry fire protection pre-made into the blaster. Alright. These things are really, really finicky for no reason. Alright, there we go. You want to make sure they get back into their threads. If they don't, they'll be harder like that. So you just want to back thread till you hear a click. And eventually the right click will mean it goes into the right thread. There we go. Finally. Probably the most annoying part of a hammer shot, honestly. Alright, so we got this. Alright. So right now it still looks like a normal hammer shot. Basically. But we have to work to get the hammer more forward. To do that, I believe... Oh, there it goes. I thought this was solvent welded for a moment. Alright, so the best way to do this is, for these orange hammer shots, you take the top rail off, and you see this little part that sticks forward. What we're going to do is we're going to take our flush cutters, our side cutters, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are to you, and we're going to cut it off straight, and then we're going to chamfer it. Because it is chamfered stock, we do want to chamfer that just a little bit. And on the bottom, because this does stick down a little bit, so we want this to be pretty good. You can go at this with a Dremel if that is more your style. Alright, let's put everything back together and we're going to test fit this side. Alright, now it goes, normally it would have stopped right about there. Now it goes just a little bit more forward and we still have a little bit left to go. So let's take this off. Let's take this off again. And we are going to now cut. If you can see this little green bit here, it comes down, swoops out, and then it drops down and then goes back into this piece. We're going to cut, we're going to cut at an angle at the corner. Actually, I'm going to cut flat for now. Cut flat, cut at this corner. All right, that's off. Test fit again. Again, quite a bit more test fitting. Near my dog. All right. Seems to be hitting, let me get a good look at it. Seems to be hitting here first. And that is hitting perfect. However, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this the best way. Come on, come off. All right. So if you look here, as it goes forward, it's actually ever so slightly touching. Ever so slightly touching. So that just means that we need to chamfer this top edge a little bit more. I can't get a good spot to put my thumb. Just this little edge. You could very easily taper it with a Dremel. I want to go ahead and get this all in a, not a single take. The rest of it in a single take would be nice. It's not a huge problem, but it is still a problem. Do this. Test it again. It does move down a little bit. That's not going to affect much. All right. So now you're basically going to copy it to the other side. You can put this together. It should be good. And now you'll copy the exact same thing to this side. I am going to go ahead and cut here to reduce the time. But I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on that side, on this side. And I'll get right back to you. Alright, now that both sides are done, we're going to go ahead, without dropping any of the screws out, we're going to go ahead and check to make sure it is straight. There's no inward taper that can cause obstructions. All the cuts are flat and equal. I knew we were going to lose one. Alright, so that does seem to be the case. All right, let's take this, let's open this back up. Make sure we didn't lose any more screws into this. Alright, now we're going to put everything together. I believe that's it. This is hitting. Let's make absolutely sure this is the case. This is about 44 as we did it before. It's not. It's about 20. It's about 43. So now I'm going to go ahead. This is what we test fit, people. Let's take this off. Oh, felt like I was about to sneeze. Yeah. All right. So if you see this piece, I'm going to go ahead and do that. That. And then we're going to take our X-Acto and actually I think we can use this for this. I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off, make it all perfectly flat. Come on. Okay. We're going to use the X-Acto for the rest of it. All right. So now, as it comes down, it's going to be completely flat. We're going to just flatten that off. Put everything together. We're going to retest. See if that's what was causing our problems. Doesn't seem to be. Just from initial look. Actually, it does seem to have done it. All right, that is 44. Okay, that's good. That's a good, easy modification to the things that we've already done. Go ahead and take this. I'm going to go ahead and remove all the screws, just so I don't lose them. Got plenty of screws, still don't want to lose them. Right. We're going to go ahead and copy. So, cut this down here. Has a lot of energy behind it, it seems like. And we're going to cut right here. Hit it with our X-Acto. Careful not to cut yourself. Make sure it is flat. All right, cool. Put our screws back in, and we should be pretty much ready to go with, damn it. Ah. Come on. There we go. And we should be pretty much ready to go with putting everything together. Now, the reason why I keep going back and forth with the test, with the test, cut, measure, all that stuff, is again, depending on the cylinder that you put in and how far back it sits or how far forward it sits, you may have slightly different cuts. All right, so now look at this one more time. No obstructions to be seen. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the spring. So this is a stock spring. You can see, as is, basically unfired, it's not going to fit too well. So that's why we have our spring spacer. It is our friend. We're going to put it in here. It's kind of a pain. It doesn't want to go. There we go. Now we're in. Test. You can see it's pretty much solid right there. Take our plunger tube out. We're now going to go ahead and lube it. I use this slug slime. It is amazing stuff. All right. Put this over here. Slide this back in. Prime, not fire. We're just trying to get all that in. Smear it in there. Okay, and I think we're ready to put in our cylinder. Now, if that goes back, yes, this does have a good fit still. Cool, cool, cool. Don't forget to put in your extra pieces to cover up the holes. If not, just for pure aesthetic reasons. I'm going to screw it all together. And I think, I don't know where my darts went. I think we're going to go ahead and do a performance test with this cylinder. Then we're going to go ahead and try to modify the intermediate kit if it needs it for the brass cylinder that I still have available right here. I'll have to check to see how much time I have left on my my storage, because it is getting pretty close to being full. So we'll probably cut after I do this. Actually, we could probably cut now. All right, now we've got the blaster together. We're gonna go ahead and put our elite darts in our cylinder. And try and get some good results from this. Now, I think I'd expect about 90. We'll take a look. Prime, it's lined up correctly. It's gonna hurt my hand. 91.5. Prime. 92.4. 77.8. I think that hit the side. I'm going to go ahead and retest that. 88.5. Not bad. 90.2. And 90.4. Good numbers, good numbers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go into shot memory. 91.5, 92.4, 77.8, this is the one that hit the side. 88.5, 90.2, and 90.4. So 90 FPS averages with everything else being stock, just the full intermediate kit upgrade put in. Now, let's put our darts back over here. We're going to put our that back over there. And we're going to open this back up. And we're going to test fit our 8-shot brass cylinder. Now this thing, it is rear load compatible. I've done barrel length modification cylinders. That on stock spring, it pushes worker darts up to about a high of 126, average of just over 120 FPS. I would expect this to do just a little bit lower than that, maybe similar performance. Every time I do this thing, I get better at it. I get more performance. I think I got like 110 with the last upgrade I did with the high power Hammershot kit. This off to the side, make sure nothing springs out. It does seem like we do have a little bit of squish on the front of this foam. That's not too bad, honestly. Now we have our cylinder already with AF Pro darts installed. Does seem like it's a little bit tight. So since it's a little bit tight, we do want it to be not that tight. Just for ease of rotation, we're going to take everything out. This will be an easy change because we're not changing the amount of forward throw like we are everywhere else. All we're going to do, actually it might be slightly more difficult than what I imagined it would be. Let's open this up, prime it back. We're going to take this and we can do that. Cool. We don't have to open anything up, I believe. I'm going to take this and actually I'm going to go in with it, add it with a. It's difficult to get into. I'm going to go in and add it with an X-Acto knife. You can see this little, I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see this a little bit right here I was talking about. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead, snip it at the sides. We just want to break it off enough that my needle nose. Just want to tear off this little piece. All right. Now let's see if you can actually see what I broke off. No, not really. All right. So I believe that's a pretty good cut. Honestly, I can't believe I didn't think of that previously. All right, let's put this back in. Test fit. You can see on the back that I've just torn this off, and it gives it plenty of room for this to move back just a little bit further. Let's set this back in. We're going to test the fit check. does seem to need a little bit more. Take this off. Take this out. We're really just going over the same steps. I'm going to go ahead and take my X-Acto this time. Just a sliver. We don't want a lot off. We want maybe 0.5 millimeter at this point. Make sure this cut is flat. It's nice and even. All right. That's a pretty good cut. Now we're going to do it the same on this side. Maybe 3/4 millimeter. All right. Put everything back together. We're just going over everything again, apparently. But this is just to show you that there is some difference. Now, I wonder how well you can see it here. Yeah, you can see this is going a whole lot further back into this area. That's good. Push this back a little bit. Put in your cylinder. And there we go. We have a nice loose fit, but not too loose. Probably could have been just a little bit tighter. That's fine. We don't want it too loose because then it can backwards rotate. Now, don't put that together just yet. We have to put the spring in. All right, let's put our spring in. There we go. And now, put this in. Remember, we do have 8 AF Pro darts rear loaded. Now, I would expect 110 from this. This is a very nicely modded Hammershot. I think we got about 110 last time, so maybe we'll get 115. Who knows? We kind of have increased our volume, not too substantially, maybe by 20%. Ooh, that could have been bad. Maybe by 20%, but these are really short barrels, so that might not have done as much with these short barrels. If we see 120, 125, now remember this is with AF Pro, so it's not worker darts, which are heavier and therefore slower. But these AF Pro darts are still relatively heavy. They're 0.96 grams or so on average, where a red worker bamboo is about 1.016 grams on average, I believe. And then the green heads are 1.167, I think. Something like that. All right. No screws coming out. Let's get our... I'm going to regret this. I need a backstop. I need something I can fire this damn thing into because holy shit, this is about to be painful. I'm telling you. 103.4. 96.9. 109.4. 94.3. I had a failure to rotate. 92. 87.9. 100.9. 97. So, I just fucking turned it off. Oh, excuse my language. Whatever, you heard me say them. I guess I could throw another shot over it. We'll do elites. We'll do another full cylinder of elites just to get a good baseline. Let's see. Goes there. Gonna do about there. This is rear load compatible, so it is possible to actually put these in too far. got to be careful. So we did see a failure to rotate. That could have been because it rotated backwards, like I said, or it could have been a case of this rotator has an artifact on it, something like that. All right, let's fit these last 2 darts into our cylinder. Be careful. And all right, that should be good. That hit inside. So let's reload this one. Rotate 97.9, 95.5, 99.8. That hit the side. 105.4, 96.3, 101.8, 97.1. So now I got the right size, or the right side. So 24, this hit the inside. I got stuck in the thing. All right, 97.9, 95.5, 99.8. This hit the side. 105.4, 96.3, 101.8, 97.1. So pretty simple and easy 100 FPS hammer shot. Now, it is about the same as the AF Pros. If you get a different cylinder, you will increase performance just a little bit. If you have an 8 kilogram spring in there, performance will increase. This is probably the most simple 100 FPS hammer shot that you can make. The easiest one, anyway. So yeah. The links to everything will be in the description. Link to this will be in the description. Link to the intermediate upgrade kit will be in the description. I'm radioactive. I hope you have a great day. Oh, like and subscribe.